joining on LinkedIn and YouTube. We are going to start in just a minute. While we let the room fill up, and I'm waiting for more people to join, while we let the room fill up, do me a favor. Open up the chat and let me know where you're tuning in from. State your country that you're tuning in from so that I know that there are actively listening and reacting. And it'll also tell me that the audio and video is clear and everything is loud and clear and you can see and hear me quite well. Let me know in the chat well that everything is going well. And we'll get started in a moment. Let just quickly tell you about salary. That's what's going to be today's. So we'll talk about how to negotiate or ask for an increase in salary in your current place of employment and whatever that might be, right? Wherever you, and it is not about necessarily jumping to a new organization. Negotiation tactics is quite different to where if you were to negotiate or ask for an increase in salary in your current organization. And I say, how do you ask for increase in salary? Or let's just say it's not about increase in salary, although we will focus very specifically on that aspect. It could also apply in case into your promotion. And I'll talk to you about that in one of the points that I'm going to bring up today, right? Now, a lot of leaders that I have coached are so hesitant to ask. You have to know that if you don't ask, you're not getting anything. Right? Have to ask. You ask, you will not get it because you have to understand very likely that someone in your team is asking, right? Now they may not be as good a performer as you are, but ultimately it wouldn't matter. It's more like if you heard that saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Something like that. A crying baby gets the milk, right? So whatever that might be. Now, if you don't ask, someone who asks is likely going to take that away from you, even if they are not as good a performer as you, because your manager is very likely to see it as something that maybe you are not in need of. Here's the thing: if everyone in your team is asking, what makes the difference in is the way you ask, right? So we'll kickstart. We'll give it another minute or so, and we'll kick off. But like I asked, if you are right now, please make sure that you put in the chat that you can hear and see me loud and clear with an L and a C, L and C, and that will indicate that I'm loud and clear and you can see and hear me just fine. right? So that's start with that. And if you are comfortable, mention the country you're watching from this live stream today. Mention the country and the state or region that you are from within that, right? It gives me a sense of time zone and all the parts of the world where people are listening and watching me live. Yeah, and it is also important that you are active in the comment section, because that lets the algorithm push this video to more of your contacts. So make sure that you are at least in the scenario react on it, thumbs up or whatever. So just react on that, more people to see it, and hopefully it will benefit them. I'm on LinkedIn, YouTube live today, and I request you that if you are subscribed to the or if following me on LinkedIn, please do so. It'll help with this, help creating more content. Very person I love helping level or any leader professional to grow in the organization. What are the things say specific to intro ambivert spectrum to help them out, because I'm one myself, and I feel like a lot of the world of word can be overwhelming for words, and I want to help as but that is that it and everybody, right? So just go and participate part through session. Make sure you sort of engage comment so that more people watch. I said such a YouTube channel on link, it'll help a lot. Now I think a good we are about time, so it started in a moment, right? Saying I question for you, right? And be honest, the thought of asking you for a massive and hike in your salary, you fully unfull, right? Drop a one in the now, right? See who into tonight. After of bang, I the late 7 p.m. So it'll help me get to who is this engage with me on the live. I'm able to see the problem. I use stream through which session go. Sometimes don't chats that posting strategies if calling. I will try to switch. I want to take with. I have post comment try and I which the lead and question you have. So if you have any, let me. Okay. I like I said for this moment, there are people stream. I can't see if you're on, but hope you're active. So let's if you opt a web in case if you like our money video, your brand, I know you are quiet forming, you be doing work reason offensive, and it does to actually form feels it feels natural, right? Night complete your emotional word BD, right? You are not asking for a favor. You are replacing or you're repricing a business asset, and that asset is your labor. Companies do not pay you based on how hard you work or how many sacrifices you do or how many weekends you work, right? Or your loyalty for that matter. They pay you a percentage, and in fact, maybe a small percentage of the business value you generate. I learned this the hard way. When I was a director, for example, and it's just a few years back, I was a director for a large operations firm, right? I made an executive decision that directly saved the organization, believe it or not, 2.2 million pounds on annual basis. It's a recurring savings that it's building. And you know what happened a year later? I was laid off. But yeah, well, I felt sad about it for a while. But then here's the thing, it taught me the most valuable lesson of my career. I'm sorry, I thought it was a glitch, but anyway, let's move on, right? So 2.2 million saved, but then they fired me. It taught me the most valuable lesson of my career. Businesses protect their bottom line. You are a means to an end. It is time you start protecting your bottom line. And here are the three exact steps that you can use to negotiate. Um, so let's see the greed myth, right? I spoke about that, rebalancing your business asset. You are talking about your business asset, and companies do not pay for your loyalty, right? Like I said, in my case, I was fired even though I was bringing in so much cost savings for the organization. As an operations, you're not bringing in the top line. The bottom line is what's not something you can have an impact on when you're in operations, right? And even with that, in fact, I don't think anybody in the history of that organization brought in as much of a big bottom line in under 6 months. Even with all of that, you are part of that bottom line, right? You are one of the cost person. The company is spending money on you. So if they have an opportunity to take you out, get you out of the job, lay you off to save some money, yeah, well, they will do it, right? So don't think about loyalty or when you ask for an increase in pay, it's not greed at all, right? It's got nothing to do with it. You are just talking about the value that you bring in, right? So I'll talk about three shifts, like I said. First one is going to be data over drama, right? I'll talk about that in a minute. Future paced, right? You have to be future paced rather than looking back when you start a negotiation. And then the third one that I'm going to talk to you about, and which I think is really, really important to talk about, is mastering the silence, right? Now, the first one, data over drama. Right? What is it about? So now, quiet professionals, introvert or ambivert, and even if you are anywhere in the spectrum, in fact, I think it may not be, it might be agnostic to any spectrum you are in, right? Most of us hate boasting about ourselves, right? But I think it's more amongst introverts to ambivert spectrum, right? What executives love, you need to know, right? If you are worried about being boastful and you don't want to sound boastful or greedy, you need to know that executive loves one thing, right? Senior leaders, senior managers, your manager loves one thing. What is it? Facts. Most mid-level managers walk into a performance review or the year-end conversation and use emotional drama, right? Most of them say that I have been here for 3 years, I've spent 3 years in this role or 4 years in this role, I'm doing the work of two people, or that I've sacrificed so much of my weekend for this organization or for this team. And in most cases, right, this is just seen as as complaints, right? You don't need a rant, you need a business case instead. If you are just talking about your emotional struggle, oh, the inflation has gone up 15%, 10%, or whatever it is in your country, then if you're talking about it, then think about the fact that your manager has been going through the same thing, even if they are outside of that region. Maybe you're reporting to a manager offshore. It still is something that is relevant to them. They're probably struggling the same way. And then think about the fact that everybody in your team is more or less asking for the same thing in the same way. So when you are one of them, either you will, it will sound like you are complaining and you're ranting, and they will take it as a rant and forget about it. Or they might just think about it for a little bit and then empathize with you, and then decide that there's nothing they can do about it because they are not equipped, more likely than not, to negotiate in that manner, right? But then if you are going to talk with a business case, you don't need a rant, right? I'll tell you what exactly I mean when I say business case. I'll talk about that with an example, a real example. It's just a real story. I recently worked with a manager who stopped asking for a raise based on loyalty, based on his loyalty with the companies, how many years he spent and all of that, irrelevant, right? And instead of that, he walked in with a one pager, right, showing exactly how he optimized a process that saved the company $150,000 in Q2. And he went to his senior leader, manager, and he said something like this. And this part I'm making up a little bit, but it's something like this, right? My optimization returned $150,000 to the bottom line this quarter. Based on that ROI, or return on investment, my current compensation is below market value. And that's it, right? Now, for those of you who would like to participate in this, right? And so type data in the chat. If you see the difference between that, the emotional, the one that I spoke about, like content, return on investment, how much money you helped save, the bottom line, and asking for a favor instead, right? Now, the thing is, facts do not feel greedy. You're just talking about facts. He presented an ROI report, and that detaches you from that word greedy, right? The greed a bit. And you were just talking about plain facts, the numbers, right? So use it. So the first one is data over drama. Quickly going through it, you should remember that executive hate boasting. They don't want to talk about that, but they love the facts, right? You hate boasting and you can use the facts, right? And then strategy is to present return on investment report and not a complaint. Make sense? So let's move on to the second one. The second one is the future pace, right? What does this mean? Now, before we get on with, I start speaking with it, if you are getting any value tonight or in this live stream, hit the like button so it reaches more managers, more leaders on your feed who need to hear this today. Let's move to step number 2. With that said, now the future pace. What is that, right? This is the most critical shift. Listen closely, right? A standard 3 to 5% raise is a reward for your past performance, right? Every year that you've been getting is this based on what you performed in the year before or right before your year ended, right? A 30% hike, on the other hand, is an investment in your future scope. Remember that 30% in increase is an investment in your future scope. What you can do, what you more you can do with your talent. To get to that 30%, you must pitch the expanded role you're about to take on or you're willing to take on. Find the and how's here's how you do it. Find the massive gap, right? Find the gap in your department and whatever it is that your department is facing in the next 2 quarters, maybe at the end of the year, and pitch yourself as the solution to that gap. It should sound something like this. If you are talking to a manager, your manager or a senior leader, and you're negotiating your pay, maybe to your HR as well. So it goes something, you speak with somewhat around about the same things that I'm going to tell you now, right? Excuse me. I have mastered my current role. But looking at the Q3 or this year, we have a massive gap in our data integration strategy. I'm prepared to take the full ownership of that gap. Here is a compensation adjustment I'm looking for to take that expanded scope or expanded role. Maybe it's the next level role, right? So you use that exact script to help you frame what you really want. Now, all of you who are live and listening to me, watching to me right now, let me ask you on this, right? And respond to me on the chat. What is the biggest headache your senior leader, a director, senior director, or a VP is facing right now, according to you? It could be a KPI or it could be a pain point that you are aware of. It's being spoken about in the town hall. Type it in the chat. And if you can solve that headache that you mentioned on the chat, you can negotiate your salary with that, right? So, with that, I'm going to take you to shift number 3, master the silence. Now, this is where most introverts, in fact, more than just introverts, I think a lot of people ruin the negotiation. You must master the silence, right? When you finally ask for that 30% jump, your manager or HR is going to pause. They're going to be like, ah, what just happened, right? They may sigh, they might flinch. In that moment of awkward silence, most of you will panic. I know that for a fact, right? The moment the silence sets in, many will panic. You will immediately start negotiating against yourself by saying something stupid like, you present your number, and immediately after that, you'll be like, oh, but I'm flexible, right? Or I'm open for discussion. Or you'll be like, oh, whatever you think is fair, right? Stop. Don't do that. When you state your business case and you state your number, 30% increase of whatever the number is, you must shut your mouth. Just shut up. Let the silence sit in the room, right? Silence is a quiet leader's greatest superpower. Let them be on the first one to break the silence. If you speak first and relieve your own anxiety, you will leave money on the table. I can guarantee you that, because you are letting them anchor on something. You've dropped your anchor with your number. Let that set in, right? Let them think about it. Let them break the silence. You don't start to negotiate against yourself, right? Do not negotiate against yourself. And the rule is to state your case, state your number, whatever percentage, and just shut up, right? So now with that, I'm going to take you to the next one, right? Stop waiting. Now, walking into a salary negotiation without a clinical script or a strategic business case is exactly how you end up accepting a 4% raise or a pat in the back if you're lucky. And the fact is that most of you are probably doing a director level, a level up in your work, but taking a salary of a regular manager because you are waiting for someone to hand you what you are worth. Now, it is time to stop waiting and start negotiating like an executive. If you are ready to build an executive presence required to command the room, secure your next major promotion, I have built the 60-day challenge I call a leadathon, right? I've stripped away the generic corporate advice and installed the exact step by step framework you need to build a business case, master high stakes communication, and finally get paid like a leader. I'm dropping the link in the chat right now, right? And or it's there in the description. If you're on YouTube, it's already there in the description. Click that link. Secure your spot in the challenge. Stop leaving money on the table and let's get to work. Now, that said, right? I will take some questions. I'm going to switch over to my live feed and try and answer as many questions as possible, right? If you have, for example, let's just say if you have an upcoming performance review or a salary negotiation, drop your scenario in the chat. Let's build your business case live. If you have anything specific, I'm happy to get onto that and work with you on that. And now, if you are uncomfortable doing this live on the video, sorry, on the live stream, I'm happy for you to book a one-on-one with me. It's free. The link is also there on the description for YouTube, and I will drop a comment in the LinkedIn with the link for you to book a one-on-one with me, and we can discuss that as well. Now, besides the questions, if you have comment on the quality of this content, or if you are looking for specific topic for me to bring up in the next video, every Tuesday I come live. And those of you who don't know me, I'm Rakesh Ravindran. I'm your leadership. Now, if you are looking for something that will address some specific question that at your workplace, and you'd like me to talk about that in my next video, please feel free to do that. Leave it on the comments. I will read through every comment and I will get back to you with details. Yeah. So I will see if I can answer any more questions and we'll move forward from there. Let's see. I'm switching over. Give me a second. Let me take the mic. Let's see. Hopefully you can still hear me. Okay, at this moment, I don't see any questions, but I will be around for a little bit. In the meantime, I'll just leave with this video here. And if there are any questions.